What if I told you there's a secret manual for this world? One that can teach you how to profit handsomely from mistakes, chaos, and crises. Would you want to learn it? This isn't some self-help gimmick. It's a fundamental logic of the world revealed in the classic book we're diving in today, Antifragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He asks us a question. Which is more harmful to a person? A single 1-ton boulder or 1,000 1-pound pebbles that add up to the same weight? The answer is obvious, but behind this seemingly simple metaphor lies a huge secret. Why do some systems, like your career, your investments, or even a country, appear perfectly calm on the surface, only to collapse instantly from a single small shock? And why do other systems, though seemingly volatile and full of noise every day, manage to endure for the long haul and even grow stronger? The difference lies in whether they are fragile or anti-fragile. In the time that follows, there will be no empty theories, only a set of practical mental tools. They will enable you to see through the hidden glass traps in your life and work, turning every stroke of bad luck into a stepping stone for your ascent. This isn't just a book summary. This is the key to widening the gap between you and others in an uncertain age. We just talked about a secret hidden in the world that allows you to profit from chaos. Its name is Antifragility. So what exactly is Antifragility? Before we delve into the wisdom of this book, we must first perform a complete reboot of our thinking, because the way most of us understand the world is fundamentally missing a dimension. Don't believe me? Let me ask you, what is the opposite of fragile? The first words that pop into your head are probably strong, resilient, or robust, right? We're taught from a young age to be strong, to be unbreakable. But Taleb points out, with piercing clarity, that this is the root of the problem. Strong is not the opposite of fragile at all. To fully grasp this, Taleb constructs a whole new worldview for us, a triad. He places everything in the world, from your body and your wealth, to a company and a country, into one of 3 categories. And to ensure this concept is forever etched into your mind, he uses 3 figures from Greek mythology to represent them. Let's make sure we understand these 3 stories. The fragile. Its representative is the sword of Damocles. This is a story that paints a vivid picture. In ancient Greece, a courtier named Damocles was deeply envious of the king's power and luxury. He constantly told the king, "Your Majesty, you are so fortunate." The king, tired of hearing this, said, "Fine, today the throne is yours." Damocles was overwhelmed. He sat on the throne with feasts before him and music in his ears. Just as he felt he had reached the pinnacle of his life, he looked up and broke into a cold sweat. The king had hung a massive, sharp sword directly above his head, suspended by a single horsehair. Can you imagine how he felt? A chill down his spine, sweat pouring, unable to taste even the finest wine. This sword is the ultimate symbol of fragility. It looks magnificent and stable, hanging there peacefully, but it despises any form of volatility and uncertainty. A gentle breeze, a slight tremor, or even time itself could cause the horsehair to snap, bringing a devastating and irreversible blow. Our lives are full of such swords of Damocles. A stable job with a good salary and great benefits could vanish in an instant due to an industry crisis. A financial system that looks rock solid could collapse because of a single overlooked risk. A society that has long been stable could descend into violent turmoil over a minor incident. For fragile things, the best case scenario is to remain unharmed, but any accident can lead to their utter ruin. The second category is the robust. Its representative is the phoenix. We are more familiar with this one. The mythical king of birds can be consumed by fire and then be reborn from its ashes. Sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it? Many see this as the ultimate goal in life, to be resilient, to be indestructible. However, pay attention to its original state. The fire didn't make it stronger. It didn't teach it how to be fireproof. It simply endured the damage and then reset to its initial condition. This is robustness. It can resist shocks, but doesn't benefit from them. A steel plate is robust. If you hit it with a hammer, it might not break, but it will certainly not become harder because it was hit. A robust system's goal is to maintain stability and control damage. This is, of course, better than being fragile, but it remains a passive defensive stance. Now, for the truly exciting part. The third category, the core of this book, is the antifragile. Its representative is the Hydra from Greek mythology. This was a monster that gave every hero a headache. When the great Greek hero Heracles went to challenge it, he discovered a rule that drove him to near despair. Every time he sliced off one of the Hydra's heads, the spot didn't die. Instead, 2 new, more ferocious heads would immediately grow in its place. Can you imagine that scene? The more you attack it, the stronger it becomes. Every injury you inflict becomes a reason for it to strike back twice as hard, fuel for its own evolution. It draws energy from uncertainty, evolves, and makes itself stronger than before. This is anti-fragility. It no longer just dislikes chaos, it actually loves chaos. Every attack, every injury, every fluctuation is not a threat, but precious nourishment. So now we have a brand new map to observe the world around us: the fragile sword of Damocles, the robust phoenix, and the anti-fragile Hydra. They form the foundation for understanding all risks and opportunities. Which one do you want your investment portfolio to be? The sword that seems stable but could go to zero in an instant? The phoenix that struggles to break even after a market crash? Or the Hydra that constantly seizes opportunities in market volatility and grows ever larger? Which one do you want your career to be? Understanding this triad completes the most crucial upgrade to our thinking, because you'll discover that we are all born with anti-fragile potential. Our genes, our bodies, our intelligence, they are themselves a history of anti-fragile evolution. But strangely, the modern world we live in seems to be doing everything it can to push us away from being the limitless Hydra and step by step toward that sword of Damocles hanging over our heads. What's going on here? Why is it that the more we strive for safety and stability, the more we expose ourselves to greater danger? This is the core question we will explore in the next section, one of modern society's biggest scams: how we kill our own anti-fragility. In the last part, we established that the most powerful state in the world isn't being indestructible, but being anti-fragile, getting stronger from attacks. A natural question arises: if this is our innate tendency, why is it that as modern people live better and better, we feel more and more tired and insecure? The answer is simple. It's because we modern people have a disease of worshiping optimization and control. We tend to think of life as a programmable system. If we just write the code well enough and control all the variables, it should run and produce the perfect life we desire. We've become control freaks of our own lives, desperately trying to iron out all of life's wrinkles and eliminate all uncertainty. But we've forgotten that life isn't a program. It's a living, breathing thing, full of surprises. Our efforts to achieve this perfection haven't made us safer. Instead, in ways we didn't expect, we are personally making ourselves more and more fragile. It's happening on the phone. You and I scroll through every day. How the information cocoon robs you of your ability to think. Have you noticed that the apps on your phone are getting to know you better and better? Whatever you like to watch, it relentlessly pushes to you. You just liked a funny video, and for the rest of the day, your screen is filled with all sorts of jokes. You just searched for a travel destination, and ads for flights and hotels immediately surround you. This algorithm builds an extremely comfortable and harmonious information cocoon for you. In it, you never encounter a single viewpoint that makes you uncomfortable. You never see anything you dislike. Your world becomes unprecedentedly stable and predictable. But what's the cost? The cost is that your thinking is becoming extremely fragile. Because you are no longer exposed to opposing opinions and diverse information, your ability to process different viewpoints is rapidly deteriorating. When you occasionally meet someone in real life with a completely different opinion, your first reaction isn't curiosity or reflection, but shock and anger. You find them incomprehensible. You see, the very algorithm that tried to create a perfect information environment for you, using stability as bait, has personally stripped away your intellectual antifragility. It has turned you into an easily triggered, irritable information baby incapable of deep thought. Now, for the second scenario, how KPI management can lead a large company to its doom. Think about a modern corporation. What's at its core? KPIs, processes, optimization. Every quarter must show a smooth growth curve. Every employee must act like a screw in their position, precisely executing established procedures. The entire system is designed like a precision instrument with the goal of eliminating errors, preventing surprises, and achieving 100% predictability. On the financial statements, this looks incredibly efficient, but in reality, the company is becoming exceedingly fragile. In its pursuit of stability, it has suffocated all room for innovation and trial and error. Employees don't dare to try new methods because if they fail, their KPIs will suffer. Departments are walled off from each other because cross-departmental collaboration introduces uncontrollable factors. The whole company is like a massive ship sailing swiftly and steadily on a calm lake. But when a market black swan appears, like a disruptive technology or an unconventional competitor, this behemoth, being too large and rigid, is completely unable to turn. Its once praised efficient processes instantly become its death warrant. The efforts to achieve a stable quarterly report ultimately lead to its complete demise in the face of epochal change. The last scenario is one we can all relate to: how the perfect schedule makes your life incredibly fragile. Let's look at our daily lives. Take a look at our calendars and planners. Aren't they optimized to the extreme? Meetings are scheduled back-to-back with no gaps. Post-work gym sessions, social events, and study time are all meticulously planned. We use all sorts of time management tools to try and squeeze every last drop of productivity out of our 24 hours. We think this is efficiency. This is self-discipline. But what's the result? Our life becomes a precise but extremely fragile house of cards. All it takes is a gentle breeze to make it all collapse. The subway is 10 minutes late, and your entire day's meeting schedule is thrown into chaos. A sudden urgent task forces you to cancel an important evening appointment. You have no buffer to handle surprises. The more you chase efficiency, the less your life can withstand even the slightest interference from the real world. A life that looks packed and hyper-efficient is, in fact, an incredibly fragile life. So, you see, whether it's our thoughts, our careers, or our time, we are all making the same fundamental mistake. We fear small, visible fluctuations, so we personally create large, invisible, and potentially fatal risks. We try to eliminate chaos, only to be consumed by even greater chaos. We've seen how these attempts to control the world with perfect plans actually push us into the abyss. So, what should we do? Should we just sit and wait for disaster to strike? Of course not. Taleb shows us there's a completely different way to live. There's a group of people who never trust expert predictions, but always manage to sniff out opportunities in a crisis. They are the Fat Tonys of life. In the next section, we'll learn Fat Tony's street smart survival guide. We'll see how to say goodbye to fragile, perfect plans and embrace reality. In the previous part, we saw how we, in modern society, personally kill our own antifragility. So, what should we do about it? Taleb's answer is stop staring at the clouds in the sky. Look down and check if the road beneath your feet is solid. Give up on prediction and embrace reality. And the embodiment of this practical wisdom is our new friend for today, Fat Tony. Who is Fat Tony? He's a character in the book, a legendary trader from Brooklyn who lives by his street smarts and a keen nose for risk. He may have never read many books in his life, he doesn't care about macroeconomic data, and he certainly doesn't believe in any expert prediction models. But he has a superpower, one that we highly educated people often lose. He can smell risk. Taleb describes him as being able to tell if a person is about to go bankrupt just by the way they walk. He has an innate ability to identify who is fragile, who is the turkey in the system, the one who, right before Thanksgiving, thinks the farmer's love for him is growing by the day. Fat Tony's entire philosophy of survival is built on a simple yet profound realization. Predicting the future is for suckers, especially when it comes to the big events that can truly change one's destiny. Experts are skilled at using complex models to predict trivial things, like tomorrow's weather or GDP growth by a few tenths of a % next quarter. But when it comes to the black swan events that can truly alter your fate, a sudden war, an unprecedented financial crisis, a disruptive technological revolution, their prediction record is no better than a coin toss. It's often worse, because their predictions give you a false sense of security, causing you to let your guard down in the face of risk. Therefore, Fat Tony never plays the game of predicting the future. He plays a different, more advanced game, identifying fragility. His logic is simple. You don't need to predict if it will rain. You just need to know whether to bring an umbrella when you go out. You don't need to predict if there will be an earthquake. You just need to know if your house is shoddily built. You don't need to predict when the next financial crisis will hit. You just need to know if your investment portfolio is a ticking time bomb. Give up on predicting the event itself and instead assess how something reacts to shocks. This is the mental leap from being a fragile sucker to being a Fat Tony. To help us fully understand the vast difference between these two mindsets, Taleb tells the story of two twin brothers in his book, a story that is arguably the book's crowning touch. The older brother, John, is a typical elite. He has worked in the HR department of a large bank for 25 years, earning a very stable, predictable high salary, and enjoying all sorts of benefits and long vacations. His life is like a smooth, straight line with no fluctuations. He has one employer, the bank. His financial situation looks so secure. The younger brother, George, is a London taxi driver. His life is the complete opposite of his brother's. His daily income is different every day, highly volatile. On a good day, he might earn several £100s. On a bad day, he might not even cover his gas. He has hundreds, even thousands of employers, the passengers he picks up every day. His financial situation looks so unstable and full of risk. Now here's the question, between John and George, whose life is actually more robust? Most of us would instinctively choose John. The education we received from childhood taught us to strive to be like John. But Taleb tells us this is another huge illusion. In reality, John's life is extremely fragile. All his security is built upon a single, massive system. He is like that sword of Damocles. He looks brilliant on the surface, but his entire life and livelihood hang by a single horsehair, the bank not going bankrupt. He doesn't feel daily risks, so he makes no changes or preparations. Once that horsehair breaks, for instance when the bank lays him off during a financial crisis like the one in 2008, his income will instantly drop from a very high number to zero. And because he's only done one job for decades, his skills are singular, and he may never find work again. His stability is a fatal illusion. George's life, on the other hand, is truly anti-fragile. Every day he experiences small, manageable stressors and fluctuations. If business is bad in one area today, he knows to try another place tomorrow. If there are fewer people hailing cabs at a certain time, he learns to adjust his schedule. These daily small bits of chaos are the most valuable, free training courses the market gives him, forcing him to constantly learn, adapt, and evolve. He never relies on any single customer or system. A financial crisis might have a minimal impact on him. In fact, his business might even get better as fewer people take the subway. Those daily little troubles are like constant vaccinations for his career, giving him strong immunity against the super virus that will eventually come, a major socioeconomic crisis. Most of us are desperately trying to live our lives like John. We fear volatility and chase that false linear stability. But Fat Tony's wisdom tells us that truly smart people choose to live like George. They embrace small, manageable chaos to completely avoid large, fatal collapses. Okay, now we understand. The master's game is about identifying fragility, not predicting the future. But just having this mindset isn't enough. We need a specific weapon, a tool that allows us to systematically turn bad things into good things in an uncertain world. This weapon is one of the most powerful secrets Taleb reveals in his book. In the next section, we'll break it down in detail, the secret weapon of anti-fragility, optionality. In the last part, we met Fat Tony, who taught us to stop foolishly predicting the future. The real masters play the game of identifying fragility. But just seeing who is fragile isn't enough. How can we find opportunities for ourselves in others' fragility? This requires us to unlock the most central and powerful secret weapon in the book Antifragile. The name of this weapon is optionality. Optionality might sound a bit academic, but its meaning couldn't be simpler. It's the right to do something without the obligation to do it. It gives you a one-sided advantage where you essentially only stand to gain. Here's the simplest example. Your friend is throwing a party in the suburbs this weekend and tells you, "Hey, if you're free, come on over. You're welcome." That sentence just gave you a free option. If you happen to be bored that weekend, you can go to a nice party. That's your upside. But if you have better plans that day, or you just want to lounge at home, you are completely free not to go. You have no loss. See? The upside is open, while the downside is locked. This is a classic example of optionality. Our lives are full of such free or very low-cost options, but we often overlook them. To fully explain the power of this weapon, Taleb shares a legendary story from over 2,000 years ago. The protagonist is Thales, the first philosopher of ancient Greece. Thales was a brilliant man, but like many other philosophers, he was dirt poor. People at the time mocked him, saying philosophy was useless. Capable people went into business. Only incapable people stayed home studying philosophy. Thales was not pleased to hear this, but instead of arguing, he decided to teach everyone a lesson with a single practical action. What did he do? That winter, while everyone else was idle, Thales took a very small amount of money, not to buy, but to reserve. He used this money as a deposit to rent the rights to use all the olive presses in his region for the next olive harvest season. Think about how beautiful the structure of this deal is. If the next year's olive harvest was poor due to bad weather and no one needed olive presses, what was Thales's maximum loss? Just that tiny, insignificant deposit he paid. His downside was locked, known, and very small. But what if the weather was perfect and there was a bumper olive harvest? The result would be completely different. Everyone would be scrambling to use the olive presses, and the rights to all the presses in the region would be in his hands alone. He could then set his own prices and rent out the usage rights for a fortune. His upside was huge, even immeasurable. We all know how the story ends. That year, there was a massive olive harvest. Thales made a fortune from this optionality. Then he casually threw the money aside and went back to studying his philosophy. He proved with his actions that it wasn't that he couldn't make money, but that he didn't care to. But the most fascinating part of this story is the classic fragile sucker mistake that the later king of philosophy, Aristotle, made when recording it. Aristotle believed that Thales succeeded because he used his profound astronomical knowledge to predict that the next year would have a bumper harvest. But Taleb tells us this completely misses the point. Thales didn't need an accurate prediction at all. He might have just been guessing or heard some rumors. It doesn't matter. The key to his success was the structure of the deal he created. He only needed to know one thing, that the structure of his bet was asymmetrical, with limited losses and unlimited gains. When you have a structure like that, you don't need to know what the future holds. You don't need to be right every time. You just need to let time and randomness roll the dice. If the outcome is in your favor, you win big. If it's not, you lose very little. This is the true power of optionality. Therefore, something with optionality is inherently anti-fragile. It is immune to bad news, but extremely sensitive to good news. It's like a radar that only picks up good news. It allows us to be justifiably ignorant about the future while still being able to profit from the unknown. This is practically the most powerful form of alchemy that ordinary people can master. Innovation and trial and error are the most classic examples of optionality. You try a new idea. If it fails, the loss is perhaps just some time and energy. But if, by some chance, it succeeds, the returns can be game-changing. The venture capital industry plays this exact game. They invest in 10 projects, and maybe 9 will fail. The money lost is finite. But as long as one project succeeds, say they invested in the next Google or Amazon, the returns are 100-fold or 1,000-fold, more than enough to cover all the losses and then some. So now we know the secret to antifragility lies in constantly finding and creating this kind of optionality with limited losses and unlimited gains. This might sound a bit lofty and abstract. Don't worry. In his book, Taleb provides an extremely simple, practical method that anyone can use, an ultimate strategy for creating optionality for yourself everywhere in life. This strategy, which we'll discuss in the next section, is the ordinary person's anti-fragile alchemy, the Barbell Strategy. In the last part, we unlocked the secret weapon of anti-fragility, optionality. It allows you to face risks with limited losses and unlimited gains. This sounds amazing, but the question is, how do we actually get this good stuff in our lives? Have you ever had this feeling, standing at a crossroads in life, torn between two choices? On one side is the safe zone, stable and uneventful. You feel secure there, but you can see the end from the beginning, and you're not content with that. On the other side is the adventure zone, full of temptation. You yearn for the infinite possibilities there, but you're afraid that if you fail, you'll lose everything. So most of us end up choosing the middle path. We find a reasonably stable job, make a not too aggressive investment, and live a not good, not bad life. We think this is the most rational balance, but in reality, this is precisely what makes us anxious and fragile. So, is there a way to have both the security of a stable foundation and the thrill of adventure? Taleb tells us, yes, there is. This method is the most counterintuitive and powerful life hack he proposes in the book. The hack is simple: abandon the middle and embrace the extremes. He calls this method the Barbell Strategy. Imagine a barbell in the gym. It's a long bar with large, heavy weights on both ends, but the middle is empty. Our life decisions should be like this barbell. We should distribute our resources and energy into two extreme baskets. One basket is for extreme safety. The other basket is for extreme risk. And then completely forget about the middle ground, which looks appealing but is actually full of traps. Let's first look at money. Conventional financial advice always tells you to do asset allocation, to buy various complex medium-risk funds. But do you really know what's inside them? Do you know how big the risk actually is? You don't. So when you hand over your money, you're essentially flying blind. The Barbell Strategy says, don't do that. Put the vast majority of your savings, say 90%, into things that are so safe they're boring. Things like a savings account or government bonds. In short, things you absolutely, positively cannot lose money on. This 90% is your life's ballast. It's the foundation that ensures you'll never go bankrupt. It lets you sleep soundly every night, unafraid even if the sky falls. Then comes the really fun part. With the remaining 10% of your money, go for a home run. You can treat this 10% as a lottery ticket, one you're prepared to lose from the very beginning. You can use it to invest in your wild idea friend startup. You can use it to buy a stock in a new technology you don't fully understand but feel has a promising future. You can use it to try any crazy idea you think has huge potential. Because your survival is guaranteed by that 90%, you can afford to play with this 10%. The worst case scenario is that it goes to zero, which does you no harm. But what if? What if that project you invested in becomes the next big thing? Your return isn't 10% or 20%, but 100-fold or 1,000-fold. See? You've used a tiny, controllable cost to leverage an infinitely large possibility. You've created perfect optionality for yourself. This way of thinking applies not just to money, but to your entire life. Let's look at career and life. Most people walk that middle path. They find a not good, not bad job, earn a so-so salary, and live a bland life. This path seems safe, but in reality, you're draining your passion and life force every day, while failing to truly mitigate the huge risk of being made obsolete by the times. What does a barbell life look like? It means you find an extremely stable, perhaps even boring, job. This job has only one purpose: to provide you with a stable cash flow and ample free time. And once you clock out, you can forget about it completely. It absolutely does not drain your mental energy. This is the safe end of your life's barbell. Then, in all your free time, with no pressure to survive, you can single-mindedly and wholeheartedly pursue the dream that you truly love, the one that makes your blood rush. You can write a novel, paint, create videos, or invent something. Because you're not counting on it to make money immediately, you don't have to contort yourself to please the market. You can make the boldest, purest attempts. It doesn't matter if you fail 10,000 times, because your livelihood is secure. But what if? What if this passion, this crazy idea of yours, succeeds? What it brings you won't just be wealth, but a complete transformation of your life. You trade the boredom of one job for the freedom to pursue your dreams. This is the ultimate barbell life. The barbell strategy, this seemingly counterintuitive method of betting on both extremes, is the ultimate user manual for protecting ourselves and capturing huge opportunities in an uncertain world. It allows us to enjoy a safety net while also having infinite room for imagination. But you might be curious, why is this extreme combination more powerful than the seemingly stable middle path? Why is abandoning the middle actually safer and more profitable? Behind this lies a profound mathematical and physical law, a secret about how the world works. In the next section, we'll uncover this secret and see what mystery is hidden in the difference between that one big boulder and 1,000 small pebbles. In the last part, we learned about that strange yet incredibly powerful life hack, the barbell strategy, betting on both ends and abandoning the middle. You must be curious. Why is this extreme combination more effective than the seemingly stable middle path? Why is abandoning the middle actually safer and more profitable? To understand this secret, we don't need to know any advanced math or physics. We just need to understand ourselves. Let me ask you a question first. The happiness of finding $1,000 or the pain of losing $1,000? Which feeling is stronger? Without a doubt, it's the pain of losing the money. For all of us, the harm from a loss is always much greater than the pleasure from an equivalent gain. This asymmetry is the first key to understanding antifragility. Let's take this principle one step further. You'll find that bad things and good things have completely different temperaments. Let's talk about bad things first. The temperament of a bad thing is that its harm accelerates. What does that mean? A small bit of bad luck might just annoy you, but a slightly larger bit of bad luck doesn't just cause double the harm. It can be an exponential explosion. Let's think of a scenario you've surely experienced. Being late. Being 5 minutes late for work might just get you a glance from your boss. Not a big deal. But is being 10 minutes late twice as bad as being 5 minutes late? No. That extra 5 minutes might cause you to miss a crucial elevator, which leads to you missing the start of a key meeting, ultimately affecting the entire project. Catching a flight. Arrive 5 minutes late, and you might still be able to run and make it. But arrive 10 minutes late, and you can only watch the plane take off without you. Your entire day's plans, a ticket worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, all down the drain. You see, the degree of harm accelerates as the lateness increases. This is a common feature of all fragile things. What they fear most isn't the little bumps and scrapes, but that single, fatal, large shock. Because the damage from one large shock is far, far greater than the sum of the damage from 1,000 small shocks. This is a world of accelerating harm, a world where you have to be on edge, praying that bad luck doesn't strike. Okay, we've talked about bad things. Now let's look at good things. The temperament of a good thing is that it loves a big win. It's the complete opposite of a bad thing. If you experience 100 small, blandly nice things every day, like the weather is nice, or your lunchbox has an extra piece of meat, can the sum of these little joys qualitatively change your life? It's difficult. They just make you feel like today was pretty good. But what if one day you encounter one truly great thing? You meet a mentor who genuinely changes your destiny. You come up with a brilliant idea that can launch a whole new career. You find a life partner who resonates with your soul. This single big win brings you happiness and benefits 100 or 1,000 times greater than the sum of those 100 small joys. It doesn't just add to your life, it multiplies it, or even causes an exponential explosion. See, this is the common feature of all anti-fragile things. They don't care about small, inconsequential failures. They can withstand 100 attempts that yield nothing because they know that all their efforts are like buying lottery tickets, waiting for that one chance to hit the jackpot. This is a world of big wins, a world where you can face daily failures with equanimity because you are anticipating that one huge, wonderful surprise. Now do you understand why the barbell strategy is a genius design? It's an operating system that allows you to perfectly and systematically escape the world of accelerating harm while at the same time maximizing your exposure to the world of big wins. How does it do that? When you put 90% of your assets in an extremely safe place, you are effectively declaring, I'm quitting the game of accelerating harm. No single market crash, no black swan event can inflict fatal damage on you. You have completely erased the worst-case scenario from your life script. Then, what are you doing with the remaining 10% you use for risk-taking? You are buying as many lottery tickets as possible in the world of big wins. You are placing yourself in the very spot most likely to be hit by a huge positive surprise. Because your survival is absolutely guaranteed, you can experiment and embrace uncertainty with the most relaxed and bold mindset. You see, the essence of the barbell strategy is to use extreme conservatism to completely avoid accelerating pain, while using extreme risk-taking to embrace accelerating pleasure. So now we finally understand. The core of antifragility is actually a kind of life wisdom. Stay away from areas where a single large shock can destroy you, and embrace areas where you can gain huge surprises from uncertainty. This leads to a deeper question. In our lives, what's the most effective way to get rid of those dangerous, fragile things that are subject to accelerating harm? Is it to strive to add good things, or to desperately subtract bad things? Taleb says the answer, once again, might be counterintuitive. In the next section, we'll talk about a powerful wisdom that most people overlook, the power of the via negativa. In the last part, we uncovered the underlying secret of antifragility. So, the question is, in our daily lives, what's the most effective way to kick out those fragile things? Most of our first reactions would surely be to find ways to add good things. Add more income, more nutrition, more knowledge, more exercise. We are accustomed to doing addition. But Taleb tells us this is another extremely common misconception. Truly powerful and lasting wisdom is often obtained through subtraction. This method is called the via negativa, the negative way. The term might sound a bit lofty, but its core idea comes from a story we've all heard. Someone asked the Renaissance master Michelangelo how he carved the statue of David, a work hailed as a miracle of humanity. Michelangelo's reply was full of Zen-like wisdom. He said, "It's simple. I just chipped away everything that wasn't David." You see, the perfect statue of David was not created by adding anything, but by removing unnecessary marble. This principle is the essence of the via negativa. It tells us that, much of the time, our understanding of what is right or good is actually vague and unclear. However, our understanding of what is wrong or harmful is much clearer and more reliable. In other words, what we know to be wrong is far more extensive and important than what we know to be right. This principle is deafeningly true when applied to the issue we care about most, health. How do we modern people pursue health? We take all sorts of supplements, drink protein powder, buy expensive superfoods. We desperately do addition to our bodies, hoping to become healthier. But what is the wisdom of the via negativa, quitting smoking? Taleb cites a stunning statistic in his book. Quitting smoking probably contributes more to your health than all the medical interventions invented since World War II combined. See? You just need to subtract one bad habit, and its effect surpasses doing countless additions. Similarly, reducing sugar intake, cutting down on unnecessary medications, and minimizing sedentary time, these subtractions are far more powerful and reliable than adding any supplement, and they have virtually no unknown side effects. As the ancients said, goodness is mainly the absence of badness. Happiness is the same. Instead of pursuing happiness, it's better to first learn how to avoid unhappiness. You know what makes you miserable, so start by removing it from your life. This wisdom also applies to how we acquire knowledge. How do we pursue knowledge? We chase trends, read the latest bestsellers, and scroll through the newest information. We frantically stuff all sorts of new things into our brains, terrified of being left behind by the times. But what is the wisdom of the via negativa? It's the Lindy effect. This effect is simple. The longer something non-perishable, like a book or a technology, has survived, the longer it is likely to continue to survive. A classic book that has been in circulation for 100 years is far more likely to be around for another 100 years than a bestseller published last week. Therefore, the true way to acquire wisdom isn't by adding ephemeral information, but by using the filter of time to subtract the fragile intellectual junk that cannot withstand its test. Less is more. Understanding one classic is better than scrolling through 1,000 news articles. The via negativa can even help us make better life decisions. Taleb offers a very practical heuristic. If you need more than one reason to convince yourself to do something, then just don't do it. Why? Because when you have to rack your brain to come up with a second and third reason, it means that deep down, you're not really willing. You're just using various rationalizations to force yourself. In contrast, the decisions that truly excite you, the obvious ones, often need only one reason. And these decisions also tend to be more robust in the face of future uncertainty. You see, whether it's Michelangelo's sculpting, our health, our knowledge, or our decisions, the via negativa shines with its simple yet powerful light. It's an anti-fragile wisdom because it steers us away from fragile, trendy, and time-untested things and towards things that are simple, robust, and proven reliable by history. It helps us understand that often we become better not because of what we gain, but because of what we let go of. We now understand that, for both health and knowledge, subtraction is often wiser and more powerful than addition. It helps us move away from fragility and embrace robustness. However, in our society, there is a category of the most dangerous things that most need to be subtracted. It's not a bad habit or a bad book, but a type of person, a type of system. These people enjoy all the benefits of anti-fragility, yet cleverly transfer all the risks and harm to us, the ordinary people. They themselves never bear any consequences. This asymmetry is the greatest injustice in modern society. In the next section, we'll tear open the scam and talk about the most gut-wrenching and central moral principle of the entire book, Do you have skin in the game? In the last part, we talked about the wisdom of the via negativa, removing fragile things from our lives. But there is a most dangerous and hidden form of fragility. It's not an object or a bad habit, but an unfair relationship. In this relationship, one party enjoys all the benefits of being anti-fragile while cleverly transferring all the risks and harm to the other party. And they themselves never have to bear any consequences. Taleb gives this ultimate asymmetry a very forceful name, skin in the game. To put it more bluntly, is your own skin literally in the game? The ancients actually understood this long ago. In the Code of Hammurabi, from nearly 4,000 years ago, a law was inscribed: if an architect builds a house and it collapses, killing the owner, then the architect shall be put to death. If it kills the owner's son, then the architect's son shall be put to death. This law sounds cruel, but its wisdom is profound. It solves the most complex agency problems of modern society in the simplest, most symmetrical way. It's saying, if you build a bridge, you have to be the first one to walk across it. If you prescribe a medicine, you have to be willing to give it to your own family. If you make a decision, you must share the fate of those who bear its consequences. You can't reap the rewards while letting others bear the losses. Your skin must be in the game. A system can only be healthy and sustainable when the decision maker and the one who bears the consequences are the same person. But in modern society, especially in large, complex systems, this principle of skin in the game is being violated on a massive legal scale. This brings us to a phenomenon that Taleb decries in his book, which we can call the Stiglitz syndrome. The story goes like this. Before the 2008 financial crisis erupted, there were two huge real estate mortgage companies in the US called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. At the time, a top expert who had won the Nobel Prize in economics, Joseph Stiglitz, co-authored a report that concluded the risk of these two companies defaulting was effectively zero. Think about that. This was a scientific conclusion from a top expert using the most complex models. The result? A few years later, these two companies collapsed, causing hundreds of billions of dollars in losses for taxpayers, and becoming one of the triggers of the global financial crisis. But here's the best part. Mr. Stiglitz not only went completely unscathed, but after the crisis, he reinvented himself, wrote a book, and adopted an "I told you so" posture, becoming a prophet who had predicted the crisis. This is the Stiglitz syndrome, an expert whose advice is not only wrong, but actually contributes to the risk. Yet when disaster strikes, he suffers no losses and can even use the disaster to gain fame and fortune. He enjoys all the benefits of anti-fragility. The greater the volatility, the more topics he has to talk about, while perfectly transferring the fragility to society as a whole. His own skin was never in the game. This kind of thing is everywhere in our lives. The journalist who advocates for war never has to go to the battlefield. The banker who recommends high-risk financial products, when there are losses, the taxpayers pay. When there are gains, the bonuses go into his own pocket. The official who designs complex and incomprehensible regulations can, after retirement, exploit those loopholes to become a consultant for a large corporation and make a fortune. They have all cleverly constructed a shameless structure where the gains are theirs and the risks are someone else's. So how can we, as ordinary people, identify these talking heads who have no skin in the game? Taleb gives us a golden rule. Never ask anyone for their opinion, prediction, or recommendation. You only need to ask one question. What is in or not in their portfolio? A financial advisor who recommends you buy a certain stock, if he and his family don't have a significant position in it, his words are worthless. A nutrition expert who tells you a certain diet works wonders, if they don't strictly follow it themselves, they're a charlatan. A professor who lectures you about entrepreneurial opportunities, if they've never started a business themselves, their talk is just talk. Action is far more convincing than words. A person's wallet and their actions are the only proof of their true beliefs. Skin in the game. These 4 words are like an X-ray machine that can instantly expose all the scams and hypocrisy around us. It's not just a moral principle, it's the ultimate risk management tool. It tells us that a healthy system must make everyone responsible for their own words and actions. It must make the creators of risk bear the consequences of that risk themselves. Any system that allows you to have upside without downside is essentially stealing someone else's security to build your own anti-fragility. All right. Up to this point, we've learned about the Antifragile Triad, the Barbell Strategy, the Via Negativa, and the principle of skin in the game. These weapons all sound very powerful, so finally, how do we integrate all this wisdom and apply it to our own lives, from our careers and investments to our physical and mental health, to build a truly indestructible, anti-fragile life for ourselves? In the next section, the final part of this video, we will draw the map. For this, in the last part, we used the skin in the game X-ray to expose the greatest injustice in modern society. We understood that a healthy system must make everyone responsible for their words and actions. All right. So far, we have unlocked all the core subversive weapons from the book Antifragile one by one. Now comes the most critical step. How do we integrate all this wisdom and apply it to our own lives to build a truly indestructible, anti-fragile life for ourselves? Next, let's follow the book to draw this map, the Anti-Fragile Life Practice Map for every one of us. First, in your career development, immediately shatter the illusion of stability and build your career barbell. Stop treating your career like an all-or-nothing bet on a single company or industry. Instead, build it into a barbell. One end of the barbell is your survival job. This job doesn't have to be glamorous, it can even be a bit boring, but it must be extremely stable, provide for your basic needs, and not occupy any of your mental space after you clock out. The other end of the barbell is your true passion project. Use all your free time to pursue the dream that could lead to a life-changing breakthrough. Continuously increase your optionality. Learn a hard skill that isn't tied to a specific location. Build a personal brand that doesn't depend on a single company. Make friends in different industries. The more options you have, the less you need to rely on any single fragile system. Second, in your personal investing, completely abandon the medium risk scam. This is the most direct application of the barbell strategy. Put 90% of your capital in absolutely safe places where you cannot possibly lose money, like cash or government bonds. Then, with the remaining 10%, boldly embrace uncertainty. Invest in high-risk, high-reward ventures. Your losses are capped, but your gains are unlimited. At the same time, in investing, subtraction is more important than addition. Rule number 1, reduce debt. Debt is a magnifier of fragility. It will leave you powerless in the face of risk. Rule number 2, reduce complex products you don't understand. If you can't explain to a child in one sentence how you're making money, don't invest in it. Finally, always remember the golden rule. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they buy. Third, in your physical and mental health, stop coddling yourself and actively embrace beneficial stress. Your body is naturally anti-fragile. It needs stressors to stay healthy and vibrant. So start subtracting burdens and adding pressure to your body immediately. The first principle of health is subtraction. Quitting smoking, sugary drinks, and processed foods far outweighs any supplement. Likewise, reduce information anxiety. Turn off news notifications. Stay away from the mental junk that makes you angry and anxious. The second principle of health is to add beneficial volatility. Don't be afraid of occasional hunger. Don't be afraid of intense exercise. Don't be afraid of contact with a few germs. All of these are like vaccinations for your body's systems, making them stronger. Fourth, in your learning and cognition, become a free-roaming flaneur, not a planned tourist. Our era has no shortage of information and knowledge, but most of it is noise and garbage. What should you do? Embrace the Lindy effect. Read more classics that have stood the test of hundreds or even thousands of years. Let time filter out 99% of the intellectual noise for you. At the same time, build your knowledge barbell. On one hand, read the oldest and most profound original classics. On the other hand, go talk to taxi drivers, artisans, and entrepreneurs on the street to get the most vivid, skin-in-the-game street smarts. Most importantly, stay humble. Acknowledging our ignorance about this complex world is, in itself, the most powerful form of wisdom. To end this video, let's return to the initial metaphor. This world will always be full of the turbulent winds of uncertainty. Do you want to be a candle, flickering in the wind and ready to be extinguished at any moment? Or do you want to be a fire, roaring in the wind, growing stronger the more it blows? By understanding antifragility, you now have the power to choose. Thank you for watching. See you in the next book.